If you've ever gone on Twitter to discuss basketball, which I don't recommend you do, you've seen people call star players foul merchants. Now, if you don't know what that means, it's basically saying that a certain player who's really good wouldn't be very good if the refs didn't give him a bunch of calls and got him to the line all the time, and that they rely on free throws too much. And one player who leads the league in free throw attempts right now and has been getting called that a lot as they're really high up in the MVP race, I think they're the favorite right now, is Joel Embiid. Now, you might be thinking, why would anybody even care? You know, a point from the line is worth just as much as a point from the field. And I think people's problems with it come down to two things. Number one, when there's a lot of fouls in a game, and now that the 76ers have James Harden, there's going to be a lot of fouls in 76ers game. And it's not totally baseless. I mean, Joel Embiid does average 12 free throws a game. And for a lot of NBA fans, that's the end of the story right there, because a lot of NBA fans don't judge whether or not fouls are deserved or not. Do you know what I'm talking about? A lot of times I'll see people compare the number of fouls in a game, right? Like in a single game, they'll show, well, the other team that we were playing had 20 more free throw attempts than us. So obviously the refs were biased and it was unfair. And maybe that's the case, but it's never taken into consideration that maybe your team just fouled more. Maybe you just committed more fouls and that's why the other team shot more free throws. And it's the same thing with Joel Embiid. He's shooting a lot of free throw attempts, but maybe it's not because he wants to. Maybe it's because he just gets fouled a lot. And that's what's caused a lot of debate about Joel Embiid is he killing for fouls? Is he trying to go out there and draw as many fouls as possible, which is a boring way to play? It's not as fun as watching players get buckets. It slows down the game, and it's just a less interesting play style. Or are teams just fouling them because they can't stop them? Now, unfortunately, for a lot of NBA Twitter users, they have no way of telling whether or not this narrative is true about Embiid because Basketball Reference doesn't provide a stat to tell you whether or not a trip to the line was earned or whether it was cheaply gotten. So that's why I decided to go back and rewatch a game that the 76ers just played against the Knicks, where there were insane 50 fouls in the game between the two teams combined. And Embiid had 27 free throw attempts this game. So I know it's only a single game sample size, but I figured it'd be a good one to look at and figure out what at least his strategy is and what's getting him so many foul calls. So I'm not going to piecemeal you my opinion about this. I'll just tell you what I think straight up right now. Embiid is more too hard to guard and you have to foul him than he is just looking for free throws all the time. But we would be lying to ourselves if we said that he never did. And I would say that's probably true about most good players too. Nobody is never just trying to draw a foul. And I don't think Embiid is any different. The thing about Embiid is that how he moves at his size is what makes him so special, right? So when he gets a full head of steam going towards the basket, there might be no one who can stop him. And teams know this, and it leads to teams fouling. Now, one of the big things that the 76ers are going to do to get Embiid to build up that head of steam going towards the basket is this Harden pick and roll. And that's exactly what happens here about 5 minutes left in the game against the Knicks. Embiid sets the pick, and when James Harden takes it, and both defenders give attention to him because he can do so many different things with the basketball in his hand. He can hit anybody. He can hit any shot. It gives Embiid the opportunity to run freely towards the basket. And by the time that Julius Randle gets back into position to stop Joel, it's too late. He's already got enough momentum that he's going to drive to the basket, and Evan Fournier and help defense is going to just grab his arm and knock him to the ground. That's a foul. And if they had not fouled him, I'm sure Embiid would have been glad to take that shot. So I can't look at that and say, oh, that's just him trying to get fouled. He's fine with getting fouled, and that's probably another big part of why he gets so many is that he can drive inside without the fear of, well, if they foul me, I can't shoot. He's an 80% free throw shooter, which is fantastic for a guy his size. So he has no problem with putting himself in positions like that where he knows he'll probably get fouled. But if teams are going to foul him instead of letting him get, an open layup, how is he supposed to play to where he's not going to get fouled? There's just not a way to do it. So I look at a play like that and I say, well, Embiid not being scared of the line maybe got him there. But it was a genuine foul on a genuine take where he was honestly trying to get the ball in the hoop. That's not what a foul merchant is to me. And here's another example of that with about 1:40 left to go in the second. Pick and roll with Harden. Both defenders are going to give attention to Harden. Now, Robinson's put himself in a little bit better of a position to maybe flip and guard Embiid in time. But he waits maybe a little bit too long because of how much Harden can do and how far behind Evan Fournier is. And because of that, even though he had to slow down a little bit to catch the pass, he's way too late. Embiid's already going up with a shot before Robinson's ready to guard him. And because of that, Robinson's behind and he smacks his arms. Embiid's able to still put it in, but on the replay, that's a foul. That's a foul. That's a good, genuine take, simple pick and roll, goes to the basket, and gets fouled. These aren't crazy things. These are just two really good players running pick and roll. Defenses have a hard time guarding it, and when they do, you foul. But it's not all from a pick and roll, obviously. Here, about 5:50 left to go in the fourth, you're going to see Embiid and Harden start a fast break with Randle chasing behind and with the guy who they have playing the 5 behind Embiid, and he can't catch up. And you can see exactly what happens when you don't foul. I mean, this isn't a crazy play or anything, but Julius Randle gets pretty far behind Embiid and Harden when they're rolling on a fast break. So Embiid sprints, and with only 2 smaller defenders in the paint, their options are let him take it up or foul. And they let him take it up, and it's a very, very easy dunk. So your options are foul or let him score when he has that head of steam, especially if the guy I think you have playing the 5 isn't in position to make a play. It's a similar thing to, I think you see Giannis, where when he drives in, he gets a lot of fouls, and he's not the foul shooter that Embiid is. But when a guy that physical gets a head of steam going to the basket, you got a foul, and that's a good way to play. And I think it's a pretty honest way to play. Of course, it's not all from pick and rolls. It's not all from going towards the basket, just as fast as you can, and defenses have to hit them. Here with 2:30 left to go in the second, Embiid hits a nasty, nasty up and under that has Mitchell Robinson completely behind them. And with Evan Fournier right there, only thing between him and the basket, he's going to hit his arms. Now, I do kind of think that maybe Embiid knew he was going to get fouled as he was going up with that, and it wasn't like he just totally wasn't thinking that I might get fouled here. Maybe he was like, yeah, I'll just take this foul. But even if he was, I see that as a very good basketball play that required the other team to foul you. Fair enough. You earned that one. You can tell that a foul is really legit if the other team isn't even complaining after it gets called on them. These are all plays that I'm very confident would be buckets if the team hadn't fouled him and hadn't hit his arms. So it would be unfair to say that he's a foul merchant because the other team is choosing to send him to the line or can't help but send him to the line on plays where he gets open and gives himself a good chance to get 2. And the thing is, even on some of the plays where he is just trying to draw a foul, I'm still impressed by what he's able to do. And maybe that's annoying to watch for you. But here, 2:40 left in the third, you're going to see Embiid go one-on-one with Mitchell Robinson. He's able to step back here, get a really good pump fake off, which causes Mitchell Robinson to jump. And then he's able to get himself back down and up again to lean into the body of Robinson, who is in the air and is able to draw the foul. This is the type of foul drawing that's been a part of basketball since as long as I can remember. And I would still consider this a pretty impressive play. I'm obviously not going to show you every single legit Embiid foul, but I think you get the idea. A lot of these are clean, honest basketball plays. What we're looking for is non-basketball plays. And I'd be lying to you if I said that we couldn't find any. Going all the way back to about 7 minutes 30 in the first, you're going to see Embiid get the ball early on a fast break. Now, it's really impressive, that he's able to dribble the ball up the court at a guy's size and whatnot. But Mitchell Robinson is in pretty decent position to make a play here as he goes towards the basket. And what happens is Robinson is actually able to get a hand on the ball as Embiid kind of steps inside here. But even though Robinson plays some pretty strong defense, Embiid's able to throw his hands up and hit Mitchell Robinson's forearm, which because he's moving is going to be a foul on Robinson. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't a foul on Robinson. It is. But this is Embiid throwing his arms into Robinson on something that he probably wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm shooting this and it's going in, and drawing a foul. If you were playing outside with your buddies, it would be ridiculous to call this a foul. And it definitely does feel like Robinson's kind of in an impossible spot where I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to guard this. Robinson does swing his arms down a little bit, which is probably what gets the foul called. And if he had kept his arms completely straight up, maybe it's not. But man, it does feel like that was some pretty solid defense by Robinson that just didn't work out because Embiid was able to get the foul. But I think I can see this play both ways. Robinson really shouldn't have brought his hands down, but it definitely does feel like this was less of an amazing Embiid move than some of the other ones that we've looked at. What I really want to talk about is this sequence in the first as well that Embiid has with Jericho Sims. There's a couple of possessions where they match up one-on-one, and it plays out with a lot of Embiid trying to get fouls rather than being super aggressive and trying to score on Sims. Now, the first one here that happens right after that last play we just talked about, 7:18 left to go in the first, Sims is going to make the mistake of putting his hand on Embiid's hip, and he does a classic Chris Paul pull-through move. That is just, kind of a cheap ticky-tack foul, but you could also see it as like a strong vet move, not letting the other guy have his hand on your hip and taking advantage, of a younger player making a little bit, of a rookie mistake. So I can respect this one pretty decently. I would say it's more a mistake by Jericho Sims than it is a cheap move by Embiid. They match up again with about 5:40 left to go, and what I think is that Embiid is looking for a foul here because he knows he can probably get one on this rookie, right? So you're going to see Sims again put his hands in the wrong position. Now, of course, I'm just making an educated guess. I can't really tell you what Joel Embiid was thinking, but I think you can see for yourself on the shot motion on this play. He gets Jericho Sims' arm extended, and it's a little tough to see because we don't have another good angle of it on the replay. But the way that Embiid goes up, it seems like he felt a little bit of contact on his arm and just immediately got into the foul when he knew he had the chance to. Once you get into the mode of I'm trying to go get a foul called on me and I'm not actually going to shoot a real shot, and I'm just going to wait for somebody to put their hand on me, that is a little bit foul merchanty. Now, almost every player, maybe not almost every player, now a lot of players do that. And I think being a foul merchant comes down to how much you choose to do that. I think it's a tough distinction to make between that earlier play where I'm like, he drew a foul here, he was trying to draw a foul, but it's a good one, and this right here where he just puts his shooting motion through the arms of Jericho Sims and it's a foul. But I view this as more of a foul merchant type play than I do the earlier one. Maybe you see it as both, maybe you see it as neither, but I think right here it worked. Embiid's not in the wrong for doing it. I think a lot of different players do this type of stuff, but when you have a one-on-one matchup, I think it's less interesting to watch somebody who is not genuinely trying to score or not genuinely putting up a shot, and I think that's the case here. And I think this type of play is what would get somebody to call him a foul merchant. So I don't think it's anything that's super, super crazy, but it is at least worth talking about, at least from this game. Now, again, I'm sure that one game does not tell all, but I think we see a fair number of just genuine, honest fouls where the defense can't handle them. And we see a few plays where I don't even know if I blame Embiid, but I guess I can see the foul merchant narrative and where it comes from on those. But even every single play I showed where you would call him a foul merchant, couldn't you argue that they were just genuine fouls? Yeah, you could. So again, I think it's way more Embiid is just too physically dominant. He's too skilled for a guy his size. He can move too well for anybody to actually be able to realistically guard him, and that's why he gets so many foul calls. That on top of the fact that he's not scared to go to the line, which means he's not scared to put himself in position to go get to the line. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. I'll be making more videos like these soon. Subscribe, like, comment, all the stuff you're supposed to do on YouTube videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.